Elizabeth Warren formally announces 2020 presidential bid in Lawrence, Massachusetts. The New York Times, Lawrence, Massachusetts U. Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts formally announced her 2020 presidential bid Saturday, calling for fundamental change on behalf of working people and arguing that President Trump is just the latest and most extreme symptom of what's gone wrong in America. Speaking on a clear, chilly day against the backdrop of old red brick mill buildings at the site of one of the nation's most famous labor strikes, she said workers now, like workers then, had had enough. She said that it won't be enough to just undo the terrible acts of this administration, Ms. Warren said. We can't afford. The selection of Lawrence was symbolic. In 1912, a historic labor strike was started by a group of women at Everett Mill, where Ms. Warren made her announcement. The senator drew on. In a voice that often rose to a shout, Ms. Warren described the American economy as similarly tilted against the middle class, with wealth and political power concentrated at the top. Today, millions and millions and millions of American families are also struggling to survive in a system that's been rigged by the wealthy and the well-connected, Ms. Warren said. She added, like the Ms. Warren, who took the stage to the Dolly Parton song 9 to 5, described her own journey, growing up as the daughter of a janitor and going on to become a law professor and a senator. As a scholar of bank, she said that the current rising generation of young people could be the first in which a majority were worse off economically than their parents, while the rich seem to break the rules and pay no price. In response, when they quieted, Ms. Warren said, "When I talk about this, some rich guys scream, class warfare. Well, let me." Ms. Warren touted proposals aimed at diminishing the financial industry's power in Washington and cited, which she called an ultra-millionaire tax. When government works only for the wealthy and the well-connected, that is corruption plain and simple, she said, adding, "Our fight is to change the rules so that our government, our economy, and our democracy work for everyone." Ms. Warren also received important endorsements Saturday from Senator Edward J. Markey of Massachusetts. Representative Joe, in practical terms, Ms. Warren, and has campaigned in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina and Puerto Rico since then. But as the Democrat, her announcement comes as she seeks to establish herself in the race as a champion of liberal policy, but also as she continues to face questions about her claims to Native American ancestry and her sometimes awkward attempts to settle the issue. Questions about Ms. Warren's ancestry first arose in 2012, when she was running for the Senate against Republican Scott Brown, and it became widely known that she had identified herself as Native American during her early career as a lawyer and law professor. Ms. Warren has said, although there is no evidence that claiming Native American identity helped her professionally, the matter has dogged her throughout her political career. Mr. Trump has. Brad Parscale, the campaign manager of Mr. Trump's re-election effort, hit Ms. Warren on the Native American issue Saturday and said, "The American people will reject her dishonest campaign and socialist ideas like the Green New Deal that will raise taxes, kill jobs, and crush America's middle class." Ms. Warren also stepped afoul of some Democrats last year when she took a DNA test to prove Native ancestry, which angered some social justice activists and Native American leaders who felt that she gave undue credence to the controversial claim that race could be determined by blood and conflated heritage with tribal citizenship. Ms. Warren last week, after months of resisting her own advisors and staff, some of whom had called for her to show contrition earlier. Democratic voter. This week, new questions were raised when the Washington Post reported that in 1986 Ms. Warren for the State Bar of Texas, on which she listed her race as American Indian. Some activists within the party seem to have been satisfied by Ms. Warren's apology. Asked about the issue on Thursday, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the freshman congresswoman from New York who is seen as a leader of the leftist movement within the party, said on MSNBC that the controversy had not shaken her confidence in Ms. Warren and that she still had time to talk about the difference between recounting her personal history and claiming an identity. "I look forward to her modeling a public learning process and uplifting those voices," Ms. Ocasio-Cortez said. Joel Benenson, who was the chief pollster for former President Barack Obama's 2008 and 2012 campaigns and the chief strategist for Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign, said he would be surprised if the issue still lingered by the time votes are cast next year. But he said that Ms. Warren needed to find a way to address it forthrightly and give voters who have made a judgment about it a chance to reconsider. She's probably got to find something between now and then, at least within the Democratic field, to lay it to rest, he said.
Raindrops, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park,